Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Evan Witt Show. I haven't brought you a show in about a week and a half now, and I apologize for those that really enjoy listening to me talk sports. Milwaukee Brewers, that is the topic at hand, and the Milwaukee Brewers win today over the New York Yankees 5-3, beating the Yankees, winning the series out in New York, winning 2 out of 3, and they now go into the All-Star break at 50-41. 5.5 up on the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals, who the Cubs are now at 43-45 after being walloped by the Pittsburgh Pirates today. I want to talk a little Milwaukee Brewers. And I guess the question to ask, am I a believer? Am I a believer in this team so far? And I'm still a tad on the fence. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. We're only at the All-Star break. The All-Star break is here, but I'm leaning more towards the believer side, or believer if you're wondering what I'm trying to say. I'm just, trying to be a little clever here. But I'm starting to fall in the I'm a believer side of the Milwaukee Brewers. There's something about this team. There just is. There's something about this team that I can't really explain it. I can't really explain it, but they're just fun to watch. They're young. They're playing excited. It's like they don't know. It's like nobody told them that they're not supposed to win anything this year. But they've won 50 games going into the All-Star break, and I believe the Cubs last year at the All-Star break had 53 wins, just to look at comparison, if you're wondering. Not trying to compare the Cubs of last year to the Brewers of this year, just giving you something to look at. And the Brewers have scored 446 runs this year, have allowed 403, run differential of 43, best in the National League Central. The Cubs are at 11, the Cardinals are at 7. Now, they're not Washington Nationals good at 85. They're not Dodgers good at a ridiculous 160, or Diamondbacks at a 103. But the 43 run differential for me is good. I'm happy with where they're at. The fact that the run differential is at the 43 right now, showing me that they're tending to lean towards being legit contenders. Jimmy Nelson has really stepped up and has played great baseball, pitching as of late. He did give up 3 runs against the Yankees today, probably his worst outing in about a month and a half. But I'll take 3 runs against the Yankees offense. I really will. You look at Jimmy Nelson. The big thing about him has always been, can he be consistent? Can Jimmy Nelson be consistent enough to be that front of the rotation guy? And that's always what I've said about Jimmy Nelson. And now he's improved to 8-4 going into the All-Star break, and now we get to see what he can do post All-Star break. Last year he had a bit of a slump. After the All-Star break, towards the end of the year, he struggled a little bit. But now let's see what he does. He gave up 7 hits in 5 innings, 3 runs, all earned, 2 walk, struck out 6, and gave up a home run, lowered his ERA to 3.30. I like Jimmy Nelson. I'm starting to buy into Jimmy Nelson being legit. I'm starting to buy into that. I like what Jimmy Nelson's been doing this year. I think I think he's potentially a legit front-of-the-line starter. I do think the Brewers need to look at bringing in another starter, though. Zach Davies has settled in at 10-4, but a 4.90 ERA. Chase Anderson's out to mid-August. He's at 6-2. Matt Garza is 4-4 for 3.98 ERA, coming off probably his best start of the season earlier in the week. And now they're also relying on, they're also relying now on Junior Guerra, who's been struggling. He's 1-3, a 4.78 ERA, and let's not forget about Suter, who's been filling in as a starter, 1-1 at 2.96 ERA. But I think the Brewers need to get a starter. Article came out earlier in the week talking about the Brewers are starting to do their homework on some guys, like a Sonny, like a couple guys from the Athletics, for example. They're starting to look at those guys. And here's my opinion. My opinion is this. Go for it. Go for it. If the price is right, go for it. The Brewers minor league system is jam-packed full of outfielders, jam-packed full of middle infielders. You got a log jam at those two positions right there. If the deal is right, go and make a trade. See if you can make a run this year. The Dodgers and Nationals have a history of choking in the playoffs. The Diamondbacks haven't been in a while. If you can get into the playoffs, it's anybody's ball game. If you get in as a division winner, it's anybody's ball game. I think the Brewers should make a move. If the price is right is the key. I've been saying all along they should stand pat. But you look at what the Brewers have in the minor leagues. They don't have a spot for all the outfielders that they have in the minor leagues. To me, Domingo Santana is showing he's a long-term option in the outfield. He's at 291 on the year. Does have 90 strikeouts, but he's batting 291 at 384 on base, 500 slugging, and 884 OPS. I think he has a long-term future in the major leagues. 15 home runs, 50 RBIs, 43 walks, 85 hits, 54 runs, and 292 plate appearances. I like Domingo Santana. As I said, I think he has a long-term future. Ryan Braun likely not going anywhere for a while with his injuries piling up and the contract. Nobody not going to find any takers at all, in my opinion, for Ryan Braun at this point. So you're stuck with him in left field. So really the only outfield spot really available is center field. Broxton, a really good defensive player, but been horrendous at the plate at times this year. Been hot. He's kind of reminds me of a Corey Hart a little bit. Very streaky guy. So center field, there's going to be probably an opening there late in the year in the next year. But right field, I liked Santana long term at that position. Left field, you're kind of stuck with Ryan Braun a little bit unless you can find a suitor, but you're probably going to have to eat a lot of that contract to move him. So if I'm the Brewers, if the price is right, look at moving some of those outfielders that the Brewers have. The Brewers aren't going to be able to sign a top-of-the-rotation pitcher like the Cubs went out and did for their World Series run last year. The Brewers don't have the money. So they're going to have to make these trades with minor leaguers in their farm system that's one of the top in baseball to build up that the major league level of pitching. And I think this could be the year to do it. Get some guys to help out with Jimmy Nelson and Zach Davies and Matt Garza and Suter. And then when Chase Anderson comes back, you can possibly move Suter back into the bullpen potentially, or Zach Davies is still struggling. You can always put him in for Zach Davies, or if Junior Guerra is struggling, you can move Junior Guerra possibly to the bullpen, and then you're helping out multiple positions at once. So that's my thought. I think the Brewers should be buyers at the break. I know most people probably don't agree with me and are going to freak out and say, "What about the future? You're going to rush this rebuild." I think if you do it right, you're not going to rush the rebuild. I don't think you're going to see what happened to. I don't think you're going to see what happened to the Houston Astros. Like 2 years ago, they decided to buy in. They lost in the playoffs. Last year they weren't very good, but this year they're back at the top of the American League Central. The American League West at 60-29. The Twins at 45-43 after trying to rush the rebuild. They're back over the 500 mark. So I don't think you really hurt too much with the rebuild. But the Brewers do have interest in Quintana and Gray, I guess. A tweet I just saw by Robert Murray, I'm not really sold on as the pieces. Robert Murray is a baseball writer for FanRag Sports, and he's talking about that the two rival executives think the price to get either will be Lewis Brinson, which I don't like, Josh Hader, which I don't like, and Brett Phillips, which I don't like. Maybe Phillips I could part with, but I think he's going to be kind of like a Jonathan Lucroy before he was wanting out of Milwaukee. Everybody just loved him. I think that's going to be Brett Phillips. But what do you think? Should the Brewers go all in? Should the Brewers, maybe not all in is the right word, but should the Brewers make some moves at the deadline to bolster their starting rotation and move some of the prospects that they have in the minor leagues? Shoot me a tweet at Evan Witt Sports, or you can leave a comment and let me know. What do you think the Brewers should do? Should they make a move and try to win this division? The Cubs are struggling. You have 5.5 games up on the Cubs. I know we still got a few weeks before the trade deadline, and then the end of August for the waiver deadline. What do you want the Brewers to do? And who are you willing to part with in the minor leagues? Like I said, the Brewers have a ton of outfielders, a ton of middle infielders, and not really enough room for all of them at the major league level. So move them, get some pitching, and let's make a push for the playoffs, because you never know what next year could bring, or the year after, But with that, my MVP of the first half of the season for the Milwaukee Brewers is Travis Shaw, who has been very good at the third base position, offensively, defensively, doing some really good things. So I give it to Travis Shaw. And pitcher for the Brewers, my top pitcher for the Brewers right now, I got to give it to Jimmy Nelson. If Chase Anderson didn't get hurt, he would probably get it. But Jimmy Nelson's been quite good. And Jimmy Nelson's been a guy that has really shown what he can do. And with him, it's always been about consistency, and we're starting to see that consistency now. So who is your MVP of the first half for the Brewers, and who's your pitcher of the year for the first half for the Brewers? Like I said, mine is Travis Shaw and Jimmy Nelson. So shoot me a tweet at Evan Witt Sports, give me a follow, and let me know what you think. Milwaukee Brewers, are you believers in the Brewers? Your first half MVP and pitcher of the year? And should they buy going into the deadline? You're listening to the Evan Witt Show, and I will get back to you next week. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.